Hello and welcome to another episode of the Radiant Achiever Show. My guest today is Laura Bucholtz. Before I bring her on, I'd like to share a little bit of her bio and background. Laura started her business, The Gifting Closet, in 2019, inspired by the lessons from her mother and what she instilled in her earlier in life. They were principles reinforced by one of her favorite books, The Go-Giver. Laura is also the principal owner of Perfectly Salty, which is a boutique bespoke gifting company that provides one-of-a-kind upcycled gifts for everything from special events to corporate clients to luxury weddings and more. This impressive product line can now be found inside the Gifting Closet. Inspired by her extensive background in personal development and project management, Laura oversees the gifting operations and processes from concept to completion. This includes branding, custom personalization, production, and personal decor for VIP clients. From luxury brand entrepreneurs and wineries to leaders in hospitality and event planners, Laura consults for custom branding and personal gifting projects. Past clients include Surf and Sand Resort, South Coast Winery, and Rancho Bernardo Winery. Perfectly Salty has been highlighted in top business and style publications and was recently recognized in the San Diego Style Wedding magazine. Laura earned a bachelor's degree in psychology from San Diego State University. She's a devoted wife and mother and currently resides in San Diego. Like her mother, Laura is committed to making the most of every day, pursuing her passions and finding the beauty in the people, places, and circumstances that surround her. Please join me in welcoming Laura Bucholtz for our conversation today. Hello, Laura. I am so grateful that you are here today with me on the Radiant Achiever Show.
Hello, Christine. Thank you so much for having me. You're so inspiring, all that you do.
You are so welcome. And I did your bio, your little intro before off of this session. So let's just dive right in. Sound good?
Great.
Okay. So this is all about sharing what you are involved in right now. So I call it a calling. Some people call it a passion project. I'd love for you to share, what is it that you are currently pursuing, and why is it important to you?
Yeah, it really goes back to just being gifted a mom that was treated every day as a gift, and just going through some challenging times. I drove up to LA for a routine procedure, and the night before took this necklace off of her, and the next morning, little did I know she would pass 3 months later. So she lived every day as a gift, and every day was like a long life for her, because losing, I think, parents as a teenager, both of them, she just was so, I don't know, she just taught us so many gifts. So one of the gifts, that's how, the project that I became passionate about, instead of, going to therapy, I think it really, I could have done that and dig a hole. And we went through a lot of life changes, which maybe we'll get into. It was really therapeutic, and to honor my mom, and to be able to pass something on that kind of encompasses that whole giving and receiving cycle.
So in the intro, I talked about that you are the founder and owner of the Gifting Closet, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
So it sounds like it was very much inspired by your mom, who she was, what she instilled in you. And that's one of the big callings that you are following today, which is this continuation of her legacy, it sounds like.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of creating a legacy on, she had over 600 people at her service. She was just always such a giver. And in her passing days, she had a gifting closet, and she would have me also just running around wrapping up gifts in her very short periods of lucid time. And even as a little girl, we would go to the closet, we'd pick out that special something for that special someone. And even, in her passing days, she was still thinking of others, and
Wow.
and I was like her little worker bee, and the giving the giver and, wrapping things up. And it was really cool, but also a hard time at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to honor her. And really, there was a great book called The Go Giver. I don't know if you've ever read it, but that was also a huge inspiration. It's around the law of reciprocity and how you really can't break that cycle. It's not just the giving, it's also the receiving. Like someone paying you a compliment, a lot of us women, no, oh, don't be silly, that kind of thing. So it really talks about that cycle that you're kind of taking that away from someone if you just don't receive. So a lot of the things we were doing early on, a lot of upcycling, repurposing. My mom became early in life, had nothing. Later in life, a designer, had beautiful things. So we would be jeweling bottles and doing all these beautiful things, but with, events went away, then COVID hit, I had a wedding magazine feature, all these things. So it kind of all spiraled. And that's when it was this therapy of giving back and giving.
Wow.
So it really started as just, we gave away things. I mean, we delivered things to nurses, UCSD, like 50 gifts. And I'd go to the post office every day and just mail off things to people that I saw doing something cool. And okay, it was called the Go Giver Project to start. And I really didn't plan on doing the gifting closet at that time. I was just, I had to clear 3 homes in 3 years, and then my mom's in a 10-day period. So it was just this whole becoming passionate about sustainability and eco and giving. And so it was a way that we could just kind of carry that sort of. So early on, really it started because a lady reached out to me and said, oh, I'd like to give some things to my neighbors who are essential workers. And that's when it kind of just went, wait, we should do something with this. And so I was trying to get sponsorships early on. Then again, just more life changes that I wish I could just spend 100% of my time, 24/7. I rallied my 17-year-old daughter to do the website, who, by begging and pleading.
I love it.
But she's great. She's an amazing girl. So yeah, so that's kind of how it all kind of flowed and changed. Yeah.
So it sounded like it started kind of out of necessity of, I have a lot of things to give, and you already had that instilled in you to be a giver. And what I know of you and the times we've connected, you have such a giving heart. So it doesn't surprise me that as you got into the giving, it became something bigger and took on its own, bigger life, which is fantastic. So I want to really kind of dial in, because I think this is a good point to help share, is how what's in front of us. Whoops, you just went off camera here. There we go. But it's all good. It's all good. Listen, this is a conversation, right?
Yep.
So what, when you saw, did you feel it? Did you see it? Did you hear it? Where you were doing the Go Giver project, and then tell us a little bit more how it transpired into you having the idea to create a business around this.
Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, it was kind of I don't like to use the word pivoting. That word has been so overused. I'd call it a shifting and a refiring direction kind of thing. It really, I connected with someone that's like, Laura, don't you need to bring in some income after losing all your project management work, after losing all your event work? Because everything I did was event or hospitality driven. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, why don't you do both? Like, make your passion your business. And so really what it intended to be originally was, we had 4 really cool boxes with really cool names, message in a bottle, get outdoors. We had this whole plan. And then with, again, with COVID and not having e-commerce and fulfillment, and really when push comes to shove, the reality of it, fulfilling all that, I knew that was just going to be, too much of an undertaking. And we had a gas slab leak and an unexpected move. So in the midst of all this, sometimes you have to go, you know what? I gotta be practical. So practical with the passion, but I didn't want to abandon it. So I just was like, well, maybe there's like-minded companies that I could have e-commerce and I could have things sent out and I could still do this gifting project. So that's kind of what happened. So, came across some like-minded companies that were about sustainability, doing better in the world. doing good for our land and Mother Nature and, you know, all that kind of thing. So really that's kind of what happened. It's like, well, who has things that could be gifts that could be, but I could plug into something that's already sending out and has e-commerce. So that's kind of how that transitioned. And I think that sometimes we just have to make adjustments along the way. And I think all the things we had gone through, a lot of resilience and a lot of, you know, just kept getting things thrown our way. And this was like, again, like a therapy, very therapeutic at the same time, but also a lot of work. So
Totally.
those boxes never happened, and we transitioned and made it something different.
Okay. Well, what I love about your story and your sharing here is that this common thread of gifting, giving, and however it took shape and form, you were willing to flow with it, just knowing this is a key part of who I am and the gift that I desire to bring to the world. And I'm not attached to how that shows up. And I know
Right.
so many people, you know, kind of old school, I'm gonna say old school, and this was me, it had to happen how my vision, how I saw it envisioned, otherwise I wasn't happy with it. I've since fortunately shifted it to be fluid like you are, and to keep the dream alive, to keep the core essence of things alive, but just be open to it flowing in different ways. So I love that. And part of what you talked about is leading into my next question, are what were some of those big obstacles that you faced once you said yes to bringing the gifting closet to life? And it sounds like there were several.
Yeah. No, and yeah, it wasn't in the plan to make all those changes, like you said, and it wasn't easy. I mean, I'm a pretty real person, you know. It was a lot of work, and more work than you ever anticipate, like anything. So I'm just, so repeat the question. I want to stay on point.
Yeah, I guess again, the obstacles, and I know you shared several, right? COVID happening and things like that, and certain things just not launching the way you had planned, and so you pivoted, like to connect with corporations.
Yeah.
From a personal perspective, what were some of those inner obstacles? Had anything you faced yourself?
Yeah, I think just the inner part is like the reality of family going, Laura, what are you doing? Like, go get a job. And then but I'm so passionate about this and I want to honor it. And just the obstacle was just staying the course, even if it wasn't going to happen in the timeline that I really wanted it to. And it's something that I kind of, like you, I mean, it wasn't easy. I really was holding on to what it needed to be. I wanted it to be all these beautiful bottles and the bejeweled and the upcycling and the repurposing and touching everything. And that was the therapy early on, the therapy of all that. And it was just like my mom and her, we had these beautiful things, but letting go of that, and that someone else can enjoy those things. They can still be passed on or donated, and to turn it into something different than what you originally planned. It's not easy. You want to hold on to that. You want to hold on. This is how it has to be. So yeah, I think my biggest obstacle was just staying the course without abandoning it. And, you know, I wish I had all these funds and, you know, people contributing. It's all organic. I'm not doing paid advertising. I'm not doing any paid ads. I mean, it's myself and my daughter. There's no social media expert behind me. There's no marketing team behind me. There's no, you know, all that stuff that we know is required, because I had to take the practical part. My husband was in tech, lost his job after COVID and the move. And so, you know, the practicality, sometimes you go, you know what, I can still do this. I can still share it authentically and share the story. And if, you know, and then later I can maybe transition it into a little bit more. And I just keep finding the like-minded people that maybe want to be a part of it, and it can change into something different. I mean, I just connected with another lady that has this amazing giving app. I mean, so there's just, you know, you keep attracting, right? I'm just trying to attract. At first, you're just working so hard to make it what it is. And now I'm like, you know what? It's okay. You know, and I'm doing some business development for another product with my husband's company, and I can still not abandon this. Right. And my daughter, you know, if I direct her accordingly, she's willing to help. So yeah, so I just have to It's always a bargaining.
I love just that grassroots, that's where you're at. That's, you own it. You're okay with it. And again, at the same point, you're still connected to the higher vision, the bigger impact that you desire to make. So I think your message in your story is going to help so many women, because we get so fixed on, I'm not doing enough, that it has to be more, or, and trust me, I get that. I have those high ambitions myself. And at the same time, like every day, if I can positively, have a positive ripple effect in one person's life or two people's lives, like I feel
Right.
I'm doing my work, right? I'm doing my work. And I so get that from you. Just again, going back to that inner commitment of your vision, regardless of what other people, are saying, you're going to kind of stay the course and take those steps. Sometimes they're baby steps forward, but being open to the other part and the other reality. Like you said, I love that you're so, transparent in that. The reality is, there's other things that are bringing an income that I need to pay attention to. Right. So,
Right. Right. And everyone's different. Everyone's certain. And that was another thing my mom taught me. I mean, which is really an important lesson, I think, too, is we all are in different positions at different stages in our life. And, sometimes you can have your passion, but you can have both,
right.
Sometimes you just, when push comes to shove, I think you just, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But but by my all means, I think that we all go through different things, and I'm blessed because through everything we've had, like clearing 3 homes and unexpected moves, and then doing my mom's home in 10 days, and during COVID, and how are you even going to get rid of these things? I mean, it was insane. My kids are the blessing. They've been the rocks, and so I'm like, okay, if I just put up my punching gloves, what else are you going to throw at me? Right. And I kept saying, I'm like, okay, what do you got now? Okay, got this, you got the slab, you got the move, we got the, just COVID's like, okay, put on a mask and whatever. That was
Right.
the least of my worries at the time.
Wow.
So the point is that thank goodness, they are rocks. I mean, they have been we just through everything are oh my gosh, we're so lucky. So, we all have different things.
We all have different things.
Exactly. It could be this, it could be that, so
Exactly.
I try to, my mom taught, back to my mom, just find those little gifts, find those hidden things, find the little tiniest thing to be thankful or grateful for. It's the only way it's gotten me through so much. So yeah.
I love that. And because the gifts, right, are not just the physical things. The gifts are
exactly
the kind word. It's the helping hand. It's the,
right.
It's the courage, right? There's all these different things when we stop to get really present and aware to it. There's gifts come in many shapes and forms. So
right.
Let's transition into the next question, which is, how have you changed, personally, professionally, as a result of stepping into bringing your gifting closet vision to life?
Just being more forgiving, to myself and to others for either judgment or what are you doing? That kind of thing. I think that's been a bit, and then just finding that inner, like you always say, just going in and being okay. It's hard. The imposter syndrome, to beat yourself up, and I should be doing this, and I want to do more, and, I should be doing that. And, but I've been just trying to dig deep and stay with that, and try to not overthink and compare and all that. Cause I know there's, lots of things I could be doing, but I have to be okay with that.
Yeah. So this just popped in my head, so I'm going to ask it, and I hope I don't put you on the spot. So is there because you talked about forgiving, the not comparison, there's a lot of key things that you've shifted, and I am nodding my head to all of them. Would you say, if there was, and there doesn't have to be, what was one of the biggest mindset shifts that you have made that's helped you keep moving forward?
You want a tangible example from the
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, my brothers, I was the only daughter, and my brothers and dad, my dad, he sold the home without telling me. It's crazy. Like, so I guess I can share that here. It's fine. I'm just making, yeah, they're not going to watch it. um, so, so that forgiveness of just like, they're not evil people, but he just doesn't have a clue, like how that would impact things. Like doing 10 days in a deadline during COVID, they hired this guy. I had to come in and triage. Wow. So, and it was just frustrating because the end of her life was already kind of, tough. And then this didn't need to be like that. So I think just the lesson in that, we're all different. We process different. We experience things different. We all handle scenarios differently, and just forgiving and being accepting of, it's been hard because my mom and I were so close and I don't have the same relationship with my dad. Yeah. So it's like, and my brothers, and I was her advocate at the end of her life. And then I was her advocate for this end of her life. Right. So I was just like, oh my goodness. So just, letting go, trying to just forgive and let go. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Sure. That forgiveness, man, if we don't talk, it can fester and
it did. I mean,
things.
It did. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, and that's when I had to go in and do some meditation and, really work on it. Because it was a lot of anger. And I was just like, I have to let it go, but that's just life, right?
Well, I so appreciate your vulnerability. And again, I think it's one of those messages to hear your story, to hear people's stories of loss, of, stuff happening that it feels so, heart-wrenching, and how you would have handled the situation so differently, the pain that it does cause. And at the same time, I love what you did is that you took responsibility for what you were experiencing, and you had this higher commitment, even though you may not have even seen it this way, but you had this higher commitment to you living your fullest, happiest life, right? So this significant things happen to you, and tell me if I'm getting this wrong, but here's what I'm seeing is like significant things happen to you. There's a lot of pain, a lot of loss, a lot of, hard emotions, and you were and when you realized that you needed to forgive, that then you took that upon yourself because you saw, I had to do this for me, for my fulfillment, for my to live into my purpose even more. So that's how I'm framing it. I don't know. You tell me if that, makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's so relative because this is like little stuff in the big, again, finding the gift of, there's no pity party. Like, it's so relative because so many people have, yes, a lot of yucky
we
stuff.
All have things, right? Totally.
Yeah. I don't have cancer. My kids don't have, I'm just putting it in. I want to keep perspective.
I agree. And, full disclosure too, I know for me, in what I went through with the end of my marriage, I went through all those emotions of, anger, disbelief, then bargaining, and then finally I had to make peace with things, and I had to forgive not just him, my ex, but I had to forgive myself too.
Right.
And in my case, right. And so but the key is my intention, like yours, was to live my highest purposeful, radiant, fulfilling life. And to do that, we have to be willing to make peace with situations, to forgive, to let go, to, all of that, to not hang on to stuff. So good stuff. This is good stuff.
It's true. You have to just find that in you to forgive. It's not easy, but it's self-care, right?
Yeah. Self-care, self-love. I think it really came down to, am I going to love myself, and take the ownership for my own happiness, or am I going to put it on give somebody else the power, right? So when we take that power back and own it for ourselves, that's when we can really create powerful, beautiful things in our lives. So, okay. So we talked a lot about obstacles, about how you shifted. So What is one, I'm all about powers, inner powers, radiant achievement is about owning your inner powers. I talk about 7 of them, but there's so many powers. What would you say is one inner power that has been most instrumental for you in your life? And again, whether it's related to your calling recently, I'd love to hear about that.
I think coming from a half glass full attitude is probably the thing that's gotten me, most through everything. Just,
Hmm.
you know, you could look at it half empty or you can look at it half full. So just back to that, I guess I kind of always comes back to the core thing. Like what's got me through it is just trying to find that simple thing or that little gift or whatever, half just coming from it could always be worse, and look, and that was another lesson, like look, look down and you'll always feel better. My mom always, going through what she went through, always look to someone that has less than you have and you'll always feel more fortunate. So even if it's from whatever level, and it's a good lesson, it's a good thing to remember because it just keeps things in perspective, I think.
Right, right. Glass half full. Love that. Really. So it sounds like it's about gratitude and just really
Yeah.
be seeing and feeling and acknowledging everything that is good or right now in your life, even if there's stuff that isn't so good. And that's
Yeah.
kept you, that's energized you and kept you moving forward. So beautiful, Laura. Okay, so again, this is the Radiant Achiever Show. I always ask this question because I love hearing everyone's perspectives. What does being a radiant achiever mean to you?
It's funny. I did make some notes on that one because that was um I just said, living from love and light and forgiveness,
Mm.
I think is, and keeping perspective. I feel I'm being repetitive. I'm sorry,
Oh,
but
good. No,
I
I
think it all kind of like merged back to
love
the core,
Right.
and finding the hidden gifts, even if they're hard to find, just go find one somehow.
Right.
Even if, I love nature, like that's been like my blessing and my medicine. I mean, like nature's like my medicine. Like I literally, if I just don't go see a tree or go hike or get outside, it's just suffocating. So, and yeah, and I already shared the other one, about, it's funny. I didn't really realize, I shared about looking even through different, tough times. Um, yeah. And just embrace the challenges along the journey and do the best you can.
Yeah. That's all we can do, right?
Yeah.
That's all we can do. I love that. It's what you're sharing is definitely very much in alignment with what I teach, and it's no surprise, And I know we definitely had a resonance when we first met each other, so that's fantastic. So, if you could share with our viewers one piece of wisdom related to saying yes to your calling, and this might be especially for people that are not pursuing their calling right now, or not pursuing that passion project. What wisdom and advice would you give them, Laura?
I think regardless of whether it's going to be, hard or easy, um, but if it's bringing you joy, you just, you gotta, you gotta do something. If it's going to bring you joy and add to your life, or like I said, for me, more therapy, it was the therapy to get me through a lot. So then I think it's worthwhile if you do that.
Beautiful. That's a great message, everybody. Please listen to it. Laura's story has some similar elements to mine in that, out of loss, out of pain came inspired projects and creative ideas that then awoken, I think, in both of us, Laura, parts of us that maybe we weren't really fully engaged in before, or it allowed us to take things, to a bigger level where we're expressing more of who we naturally are. Do you feel that for yourself, that you are more like expressing your innate essence more and more with your projects?
Yeah, I do. I do. And I mean, I'm not going to lie. I wish like, you know, something amazing would happen where I didn't have to bring in other income and I could just do this and make it really in what it originally was going to be.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I'm like I said, it's going to be just adjustments along the way. So
Yep. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, Laura, before we close, I would love for people who are piqued, their interest is piqued about the gifting closet, which I so encourage everybody to go check out. I love your story. I love the projects that you're involved with. And there's a lot of different people, or, you know, different people and products you're collaborating with in the gifting project. What's your website and Instagram for people to connect with you?
Yeah, it's just thegiftingcloset.com, and the Instagram is thegiftingcloset.tgc, as in the gifting closet.
Okay.
And yeah, and really it's just a place to support like female founded, people doing better things. And like I said, it was a transition. That wasn't when it was originally intended to be, but now hopefully it'll just be continued to be, like-minded things inside.
I love it. Beautiful. Beautiful. And I know I've peeked at it a little bit, and I'll go back and look at it again. So love what you're up to, Laura. I love just, again, this big heart you have for giving, for making a positive impact in the world, and your commitment to letting it unfold in its perfect time. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And really, one added note, there's a great book too called Giftology. It's on the psychology of giving. Just another little tidbit.
Perfect. I love that you stood up. Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye. And everybody watching,
Bye.
thank you for joining us. I hope you got some great nuggets about the power of listening to your heart, your passions, and to the gift in every situation. We'll see you real soon.
Thank you.